The Tank-a-thon continues among the NHL's worst tonight as the Arizona Coyotes and Chicago Blackhawks meet once again. Who wins in the race to the bottom? We're going to answer that on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This episode brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more with FanDuel. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlak. I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube. It's a game day for the Arizona Coyotes up against the Chicago Blackhawks in the Windy City. As I mentioned, the two among some of the two worst teams in the NHL. I say among because they are not the two absolute worst. There are some. They're among the bottom five. I think Chicago still might be the worst, but right now, but
I
among the
think
bottom four even.
Columbus is the worst right now. The Chicago Blackhawks are definitely the worst team in the Central Division, 5 points below the Arizona Coyotes, although they have played 2 fewer games, so who knows where things are going to end up when the season ends.
Now let's keep in mind the last time these two teams played each other, Chicago just gave Arizona a beating. It was like, I think we know which team's tanking. And I know Gary Bettman will hate us using the word tank. Apparently, no teams tank, Carl.
Yeah, no teams tank. This doesn't happen. Do not believe your lying eyes. Um, it is definitely a cliche to say that the players don't tank. The general managers do. They make things as bad as possible, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make things worse for either of these two teams, because we did see a pretty large trade earlier today. Could that be the start of a cascading trade series? And both the Chicago Blackhawks and the Arizona Coyotes have two pretty big pieces that could be moved before the deadline.
Yeah, I think thinking about that is now that some of the trades have come into effect. We're getting close to there. We talked about the Jacob Chicken trade and how close that one is what is going on, and essentially like what Carl was referencing is another Central Division team had traded away one of their big time players. These with the St. Louis Blues trading away Vladimir Tarasenko to the Rangers. That's pretty huge. That honestly, Carl, I do think that probably is that first domino to drop. And when we see teams like Arizona and Chicago playing into things, we remember what these two teams are, tanking teams, in terms of the GM standpoint, and stars are going to be shipped out.
Yeah, and I have seen Patrick Kane's name come up quite a bit past couple of days. He is definitely a player that is likely to be shipped out. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but probably enough for a competing team to see what he can do. Maybe add some secondary support, like having Patrick Kane as your secondary offense isn't the worst thing in the world. So yeah, I do kind of wonder. GM's tank, could either of these two be like, hey, we're about to play a major rival. Let's ship out one of our best players. Let's make that deal happen today rather than tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that can really change dynamic of the game, it would be it would be, unlikely, but it would be really interesting to see both happen the same day, like both Chikrin and Kane just somehow get shipped out. Like, okay, um, so yeah, everything Gary Bettman is telling us apparently is not definitely not right.
I mean, yeah, I don't think anyone would complain if the Jacob Chikrin and uh and Patrick Kane trades happened on the same day. My entire feed is full of people complaining that the NHL trade deadline is not fun like basketballs. So although this isn't even the trade deadline, like
No, we're still about what, a month away?
a month away, yeah. So I don't know what's going on. Usually we see these kind of trades like before the All-Star break, but it just takes one and then the market heats up.
Absolutely. Other than that though, like, what are maybe some things that from the Chicago Blackhawks or from the storyline of these two teams playing against each other that we had to keep in mind? I know there was something that you talked about, before we recorded, not really related to the two teams as it stands now. I mean, in a little bit in some ways, but a trade that happened years and years ago, um, between these two teams that an asset that the Coyotes still have.
Yeah, the schmaltz for Strome and Perlini. Always forget to throw Perlini in there. Trade is definitely paying off dividends. Nick Schmaltz has been really good this season. He looks good with Keller, which is the player they acquired him to play with. Although a few years of Tocchet made that happen less. And the other pieces, both Strome and Perlini, Strome walked away for nothing. I don't think they got much for Perlini, so it was definitely won that trade.
Oh, absolutely. And especially when you get a player like Schmaltz who has become a part of this Coyotes core.
Yeah. Although I will say this, looking at the Chicago end, they still have Connor Murphy. So did Chicago win the Murphy for Yarmelson trade?
No, because I believe that Yarmerson did more than his job with Arizona for the few years that he was there until he ended up retiring.
Yeah. I mean, not discounting Yarmelson, he definitely did great things for the Coyotes. He was an important leader. He was a great defensive defenseman. He kept that blue line anchored. But I honestly did not expect Connor Murphy to still be playing now. I thought he was kind of overhyped in Arizona, and he continued to prove me wrong every year since going to Chicago, which is something I love. I love when players go off and be better than I thought they could be.
Oh, absolutely. It makes it, I think I it's the whole change of scenery thing, right?
Yeah,
you right, you see team a player that you're rooting for is like, yeah, I'm rooting for you, but are you really gonna do that well? And then he's like,
yeah.
oh, you know what? After changing and getting a different, just like a different city, different team, like
System,
different system,
different
you really
pairings.
kicked into it,
Yeah,
and like that's awesome to see.
yeah. I mean, definitely happy to see Connor Murphy doing well, living the dream in Chicago.
Is he a star? No, but he is he's been on the team for long enough. He's like an anchor depth piece, right? Like where he's there, he's a depth piece and he's there in a secure way, right? That the Chicago Blacks have been able to rely on him to be that depth piece for so many years.
Yeah. He is a veteran presence for them now, which is, again, just really weird to think about. Like, I remember him not playing particularly great with Keith Yandel, picking up some of Yandel's bad habits, went to Chicago and seems to have completely evolved his game and taken several steps forward. He's not Seth Jones, but he is a staple on the Blackhawks.
Absolutely. Well, what we're gonna do though is we're gonna take a look into tonight's matchup: Arizona Coyotes versus Chicago Blackhawks. Once again, that game time is gonna be at 6:30 Arizona time. We're gonna get to all the interest moment, but first we're gonna take a quick word from our sponsors on the show today. And this year, the only app you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Lockdown because they are, in fact, the #1 sports book in America. If you're new to FanDuel, that's even better because they have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. Right now on FanDuel, if you download it, you can get your, you can make a bet on Super Bowl 57 with a no sweat first bet. If your bet doesn't win, you get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets. Just an absolute great deal to have if you are if you're a sports bettor. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who will score a touchdown. I'm looking at a nice parlay that Travis Kelce is going to get a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes over 300 yards. Any things that are just going to absolutely make me some money. But the FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. And best of all, you get paid your winnings instantly. So you don't have to wait a couple days. You don't have to wait whatever. It comes in instantly. So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockdown to claim your no sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That is FanDuel.com/lockdown. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So let's look ahead to tonight, Carl. We're going to look at things to look out for in keys of the game, right? So let's start off with things to look out for on both sides. What would you pin as the biggest thing to look out for the Arizona Coyotes against the Chicago Blackhawks team?
I mean, these are two really bad teams. So I'm always looking for just some kind of edge. Like, I want them to do something right because you can't expect either of these teams to have a perfect game. But if they could just do one thing better than their opponent, they could win. Hopefully for the Coyotes, I think 5-on-5 play could be it because we know they're not great at special teams. So if they, you know, be on the lookout for like Nick Bukestad to lead the way for 5-on-5 play.
Nick Bukestad is definitely one of those players to watch out for. I believe since winter has kicked in, since the colder weather started to come, he's really he's really shown himself, and he's really become a staple. And I think, especially at the trade deadline coming up, maybe he wants to boost that value a little bit more. See if he can we can see what we can get out of him. That really.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it more last season than this, but like the Coyotes are a perfect team for you to like really show what you can do. And Bukestad is a player who is taking advantage of that this season. If he hasn't earned a trade out of Arizona, he has earned a contract extension. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the really cool thing, that what we talked about last year still applies to this, because improving your value in either trade value or improving your value for contract. What's interesting is, in the sense of Shane Gostisbehere, is a possibility they could go both.
Yeah.
For example, right? For Shane Gostisbehere, because it's like everyone anticipates him getting traded, but he also really loves Arizona, that after that's done, he might come back. Like, or he just decides to stick around and get an extension. Like,
Yeah. But I mean, with Gostisbehere, that injury though, it's just the worst timing for him.
yeah.
Uh Bukestad, perfect opportunity for him to really just like go anywhere you want almost because he has a very friendly deal. Like it is going to be no problem for any team to pick him up. And like slot him into your third line, have him be like this year's Antoine Vermette.
Yeah, it's definitely very possible. Um, and I think what's really cool in a sense like this is someone will pick him up and people would be like, "Wait a minute, how come we didn't think about this?"
Yeah,
Because how did he just fall under the radar? And it's because he plays for the Coyotes. It's those teams that are actually paying attention because there are teams out there, very likely, outside of Jacob Chikrin and Shane Gottsberg and a couple other people, right? There's like that just aren't paying attention to the Coyotes as a whole. It's
yeah,
like, yeah, whatever. So someone is paying attention, and they pick up a guy like Nick Bukestad, and he plays a really great couple of games with that team. And like, wait a minute, how did we not know this?
yeah. Although I would also be fine because the Coyotes got to turn the corner sooner or later. Like he seems like he'd be a good player to stick around. Like have him be just like a leader on the ice. Don't give him like a long term deal, but 2-3 years could be definitely worth it.
Absolutely. Um, let's talk a little bit though about other like something to watch out for on Chicago side, right? Because this is again, it's another team that's just we're two really bad teams,
Yeah,
right? So, um, I'm a kind of person, Carl, sticks to that likes to stick to the narrative of the two of those two guys, and we mentioned one of them, right, in Patrick Kane,
yeah,
the two guys that have been part of the organization for such a long time, and see what they do in these next few weeks. And again, the other person being Jonathan Taves. Taves is probably going to be the one to stay, with Kane the one to be out. But those two are always linked together.
yeah. Two big ones. I am gonna throw out a little bit of a stealth name for you though. Jason Dickinson is coming into tonight's game with a three game goal streak. He had 2 points in his last game. He's kind of the Nick Bukestad for Chicago because he's played Dallas, Vancouver. This is his first year, looking to be his best year. Like we talk about the Coyotes having like that chance for success. Like you are absolutely right. They have two really big names, but other than that, like you can claim your spot if you're on the Chicago Blackhawks. Um, as we're seeing with former Coyote Max Domi, who is another player that we should watch out for because it's always former Coyotes.
Oh, especially because we know that the Domi name in general just carries weight in terms of, oh, pay attention, it's going to be a physical game.
Yeah. Pay attention to Domi because he is going to make you pay attention to him. So definitely a player to watch out for.
Absolutely. And really, really quickly, let's go through keys to the game in terms of what the important eh, the Coyotes do to win a game. Um, um, and you mentioned a little bit is that 5-on-5 play. That's definitely one. I really think it goes without saying to Carl the starts, right? Because like we've seen so many times in which a bad start will end up leading to those games in which they take so many penalties.
Yeah. Yeah. And, bad starts also lead to giving up a lot of goals. And then they're chasing from like the second period when they really start to wake up.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, see, like, I may enjoy cardiac coyotes, but not too much, please.
Yeah.
Not too much. I do enjoy just a regular heart rate every now and then. Also, remember, it's the Coyotes versus the Blackhawks. There's nothing to go crazy about in terms of a game like that.
Or it could be the craziest game imaginable because, two bad teams, anything could happen. Which, definitely agree. Starts important, good way to control the game. I'm gonna say key is gonna be goaltending because Vejmelka really kept the Coyotes in against the Wild. They goaltending doesn't win every game for the Coyotes, but if the Coyotes are winning, they're probably getting some solid goaltending at least.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we're able to talk about Karel Vejmelka in that sense, because the beginning of the year we were a little worried.
Yeah, I mean he is definitely there's been times where he's looked shaky, and as Ingram has started to improve, I think Vejmelka has improved. I do still kind of think that he does play better when he has like a solid backup who he knows that he can rely on.
Or a solid 1B tandem that he knows that can easily replace him at any given moment.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the best. I mean, that's potentially a way to think about it, is because that leads to competition and makes you play better. I know a lot of players will refuse to admit or refuse to admit publicly that that is what's going on. They're like, competition? No, there's no competition. I'm definitely the starter. But it's like a thing that's better left that's better unsaid, but we know it's there.
I mean, yeah, for some, I always thought like a goaltender like Mike Smith never played well with competition. Like he needed to be the starter. I kind of feel like Marc-Andre Fleury is a little bit the same way. Like he seems to play better when he is like definitively the guy. I am not sure where Vejmelka is on that. Um, just because he played well when he had competition from Wedgwood. I don't think he has the same competition from Ingram this season. I think it's more of like a support versus a compete. But he is doing well as well with him. So maybe Vejmelka is just a good goaltender all around. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I think we still have a relatively small sample size. We'll keep paying attention to that, but that's definitely good bringing it up.
Very small sample size. We don't even have like AHL numbers. The fact that the Coyotes just plucked Vejmelka out of nowhere, we're both just like, I don't know. I don't know how to draw from this unless I want to get really in depth in the Czech second league.
Yeah, we'd have to go pretty deep into it. And it's like I could. It would require hours of me searching. I don't have the time for that right now,
We would also
unfortunately.
probably have to learn a new language because I doubt there's much English language coverage. Again, the second league in Czechia.
Oh, I'll find somebody who can help us.
If out there, if you're a listener and you can read and translate that language, let us know.
Absolutely, let us know. But in just a little bit, we're gonna get to our FanDuel predictions of the game. We're gonna talk about who's gonna win and what odds are we gonna be betting against on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. So let's go ahead and get to our FanDuel picks of the game, Carl. It feels good to say FanDuel picks of the game. It's nice. It rolls
Yeah,
off the tongue pretty well.
yeah. FanDuel picks of the game.
FanDuel picks of the game. Arizona Coyotes are 1.5 underdogs. Wait, no, they're not. They're 1.5 favorites. I'm sorry. I'm so used
You're
to saying that at this point that I
force of habit. Yeah.
force of habit. Arizona Coyotes are 1.5 favorites at plus 205. Money line favorited minus 118. Total points at 6 points.
Hmm. It is nice to have one of the few occasions where the Coyotes are the favorites. Honestly, this is definitely one of those games where, like I said, it could be crazy. It could be a slog. We don't know. which makes it very difficult to predict. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say the final score is 5-2, and I'm not going to predict a winner.
5-2 and not going to predict a winner.
Yeah.
I'm going to be with you in the sense that it goes over the
Okay.
6 points. I think this is kind of a game that's just going to be kind of stupid. I think goaltending might be a little shaky in this game
Sure.
by
Sure.
both sides.
Yeah.
And we're going to see some weird efforts. I'm going to say it's going to be a 5-4 Chicago Blackhawks win.
5-4 Chicago. Okay. Regulation, overtime, shootout?
Overtime.
Overtime. Okay. Okay. Who gets the OT winner?
Who gets the OT winner? I'm taking a look at other FanDuel props too. That way I can make a bet on it. I'm going to give that goal to. What would be really fun? Actually, make it fun. I'm going to use a name that you brought up earlier, for Chicago and Jason Dickinson.
Jason Dickinson. Okay.
Jason
Okay.
Dickinson is going to have the OT winner for the Chicago Blackhawks.
I was looking up and down the roster for Chicago. Max Domi leads with 14 goals. Taze also has 14, but a name that you may not expect, is it Taylor Radish? Radish?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know what
Also
you're
has
talking about.
14. 24-year-old, 6'3" is a right wing. I predict he gets a goal. Let me just check to make sure he's not injured. I do not believe he is. He is not. So yeah, that is going to be my prediction.
So I took a look at the correct score of the 60. So the 60-minute correct score of this game. So at that point, it would be 4-4. Let me see if it shows up on here. No, it doesn't show up on here, which would be at plus 260, which is any other score. I'm having fun with some of these odds, Carl. And I'm gonna go your route here, right? What was your score?
5-2.
5-2, but you didn't predict a winner. I'm gonna give the odds for both sides of a 5-2.
Okay.
A 5-2 Chicago Blackhawks win is plus 2,500,
Okay.
and a 5-2 Arizona Coyotes win is plus 2,300.
Interesting.
So a $10 bet can wager you $230.
For the very specific score of 5-2.
You can have some you can have some fun. You can have some fun with FanDuel. It makes it really fun.
Yeah, definitely.
I always love doing it. But any other predictions in this game?
Nah, I got my two predictions. One of them a half prediction. Like I said, this is an unpredictable game. I do not know what is going to happen. I am hoping that I will be pleasantly surprised.
I think we should definitely have some fun at it. Because again, the Tank-a-thon is on.
Yes.
Anyways, though, we're out of time of this episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, on Instagram at LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn _ Leano. That's Robyn with the Y _ Leano. Carl Pavlock is at Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us. Ask a question that you might have. We'll answer right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for having us and listening to this episode. Hope you guys staying safe out there. Hope you guys staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.